The lonely gift of vision. There's a strange kind of pain that comes with seeing the world clearly. Not the pain of tragedy or loss, but of awakening, that moment when the illusion cracks, and you start noticing what others ignore. You begin to see patterns in the noise, connections others dismiss, truths that no one wants to touch. And suddenly, you find yourself alone in your own clarity. Alan Watts, the philosopher who spoke about life as a cosmic dance, warned about this very thing, the danger of seeing what others don't. He didn't mean danger in a dramatic or paranoid way, but in the quiet, spiritual sense, the burden of perception. Because when you begin to see differently, you don't just escape ignorance, you step outside the comfort of belonging. Seeing what others don't is not always enlightenment, sometimes it's exile. It's realizing that the world is asleep while you're wide awake at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling, wondering why no one else feels what you feel. It's a blessing, yes, but a dangerous one if you don't learn how to carry it. 1. What it means to see in Alan Watts's world. Alan Watts didn't talk about seeing in the ordinary sense, not sight through the eyes, but through awareness. He believed most people don't really see life as it is, they see through filters of habit, language, and identity. The mind names and categorizes everything: tree, cloud, enemy, me, and in doing so, it stops actually looking. What's often said, we seldom realize, for example, that our most private thoughts and emotions are not actually our own. For we think in terms of languages and images which we did not invent. In other words, most of what we see is second-hand, processed through inherited lenses. To truly see is to drop the lens, even for a moment, and encounter life raw, unfiltered, sacred in its ordinariness. But that's where the danger starts. Because the moment you see beyond the system, beyond the lies we tell ourselves for comfort, you start to drift away from those who haven't. You realize that most of society runs on collective imagination, money, power, success, and self, all stories we agree to believe. Once you see the illusion, you can't unsee it. And the hardest part isn't understanding, it's coming back down to earth and pretending you still belong. 2. The first danger, alienation and the cost of clarity. When you see what others don't, loneliness becomes your silent companion. You start to speak, and people look at you with polite confusion, not because they disagree, but because they simply can't see from where you stand. They live in a different world, one held together by unspoken agreements and shared blindness. Watts said that every act of awakening carries with it the echo of separation. When you rise above the fog, you also rise away from those still inside it. It's not arrogance, it's physics of the mind. Vision separates. The more clearly you see the interconnectedness of things, the less you can explain it to those still thinking in parts. That's why prophets, poets, mystics, they all share the same wound. They feel deeply connected to everything and yet painfully apart from everyone. Seeing the truth can make you compassionate, but it can also make you feel invisible. Watts's wisdom reminds us that enlightenment isn't about escaping the human condition, it's about learning to live with open eyes among those still asleep. 3. The second danger, ego and the illusion of superiority. Ironically, once you see more, the ego often tries to claim credit for it. It whispers, you understand what others don't. You're special. And just like that, the very clarity that was meant to free you becomes another trap. What's warned against this subtle form of spiritual pride? The ego loves to turn awakening into achievement, a badge, a brand, a proof of worth. But genuine vision doesn't make you better than others, it makes you disappear into them. To truly see is to realize there is no seer, no separate self who holds the truth. This is the cruel paradox. The moment you think you've got it, you've lost it. Because awareness isn't something to possess, it's something that happens through you. What's said, the meaning of life is just to be alive. Once you realize that, you stop trying to stand above others and start standing among them, with humility, humor, and grace. 4. The third danger, misinterpretation and false vision. Not everyone who sees differently is seeing clearly. Sometimes, what feels like insight is just projection, a reflection of our pain, bias, or desire to be special. What's understood that the mind can easily mistake confusion for clarity, delusion for depth. We all know someone who woke up only to become dogmatic about their new world view, someone who preaches freedom while being trapped by their own certainty. That's not awakening, it's another form of sleep. The danger lies in thinking we've escaped illusion when we've simply built a prettier one. What's encouraged self-doubt, not as weakness but as wisdom. To question your insight is to keep it alive. Seeing what others don't is valuable only if it keeps you flexible, compassionate, and curious, not rigid and self-righteous. Real vision humbles you. It reminds you that the mystery is far greater than any mind can hold. 5. The burden of vision, feeling what others won't. There's another, quieter danger in seeing too much, the emotional weight of it. To see what others don't often means to feel what others won't. You notice suffering where others see routine, beauty where others see nothing, impermanence where others see control. It's like hearing music in a world of noise, beautiful, yes, but overwhelming. What's often spoke about the pain of sensitivity, the artist's ache, the mystic solitude. When your eyes open, your heart does too. You start to sense the delicate balance of everything, the birth and death of moments, the absurd fragility of existence. And sometimes, that awareness hurts more than ignorance ever did. But there's beauty in the ache. What would remind us that pain is not the enemy of awakening, it's the evidence of life's depth. Feeling deeply is not a flaw, it's the cost of consciousness. The key is not to close your eyes again but to learn how to carry the weight lightly, to dance with it instead of drowning in it. 6. How to see without falling. So how do you carry vision without letting it crush you? What's offered a simple but profound approach, don't take the game too seriously. Life, he said, is a kind of cosmic hide and seek. The universe is playing with itself, pretending to be you and me, forgetting and remembering over and over. When you remember that everything is part of one grand play, the joy, the confusion, the conflict, it becomes easier to hold your insight gently. You stop trying to fix people or prove yourself right. You laugh more. You forgive more. Because you realize that everyone is exactly where they need to be, even those who don't see. The real wisdom is in participation. See deeply, yes, but then come back and live fully. Laugh, eat, love, fail, start again. Watts believed that enlightenment wasn't about escaping the human experience but diving into it with eyes open. 7. Society, visionaries, and the fear of the different. History doesn't have a great track record of handling those who see differently. From Socrates to Galileo to Van Gogh, visionaries have been misunderstood, rejected, even destroyed by societies that feared their vision. Watts knew this pattern well, the herd instinct that protects collective comfort by silencing individual insight. But he also pointed out something more compassionate. People resist new ways of seeing not because they're stupid, but because they're scared. Vision threatens stability. It shakes identity. Most people don't reject truth, they reject the chaos that truth brings. To see what others don't, then, is to hold responsibility, not to fight or preach, but to translate. To turn insight into empathy. To make the unseen seen in ways that others can handle. That's what Watts did. He bridged worlds, wrapping profound truths in humor and metaphor so people could approach them without fear. 8. The modern echo, seeing in the age of noise. Today, Watts's warning feels more relevant than ever. We live in an age where everyone claims to see what others don't. Conspiracy, ideology, enlightenment, all competing for attention. But much of it is noise, not vision. Real seeing is quiet, humble, non-defensive. In a world obsessed with being right, genuine awareness looks like stillness. It's the ability to hold contradictions, to say I don't know, to remain soft when everything demands outrage. Watts might say our greatest danger today isn't blindness, it's overexposure. We see too much data, too little meaning. To see what others don't, in this era, means slowing down. Listening again. Watching without judgment. Not seeing more than others, but seeing differently, with depth instead of speed, presence instead of opinion. That's where sanity lives now. 9. Integration, bringing vision back to earth. The point of seeing differently is not to escape the world, it's to return to it transformed. Watts often compared enlightenment to waking up from a dream, but the real test, he said, is what you do after you wake. Can you still love the dream? Can you walk through the illusion with compassion instead of contempt? Integration means grounding your vision in the small acts of living, kindness, laughter, art, relationship. It's realizing that the insight was never meant to make you special, it was meant to make you whole. Seeing what others don't is only useful when it helps you see others better. As Watts said, when you understand that what you are is the universe looking at itself, you stop taking yourself so damn seriously. That's the secret. Seeing is not separation, it's union, experienced through awareness. Conclusion, the dance of knowing and not knowing. The danger of seeing what others don't is real. It can isolate, inflate, or break you if you hold it wrong. But when held gently, with humility and humor, it becomes the most beautiful thing in the world. Because to see clearly is to love deeply. Alan Watts didn't teach people to wake up so they could escape. He taught them to wake up so they could play better. To laugh at the grand cosmic joke and to realize that, Ultimately, there is no you versus them, only one infinite self, looking out through countless eyes. So if you find yourself seeing what others don't run from it, but don't worship it either. Just breathe. Feel. Live. Smile at the irony that even your awareness of awareness is part of the same game. And in that smile, you'll find what's always tried to show us, the freedom of simply being awake, together.